What's the weirdest thing a babysitter or caretaker has ever done to you? Story 1. I had a babysitter who would try to hit me, but she was 60 or so she moved rather slowly compared to 8 or 9-year-old me, so she rarely ever landed a slap. She would usually hit me for pointing out that she was wrong, or me talking back to her. One night she tried to hit me, so I ran upstairs to my parents' room where we kept our dog because she was terrified of dogs. I released the dog, a Doberman, and shouted, "I've released the hound!" The dog ran downstairs and, having never met her before, barked at her. This babysitter ran outside barefoot into the snow, ran down the driveway, through the street, into the neighbor's house across the street, called my parents and said she was never babysitting me again. Story 2. I had a female babysitter who would take me into the bathroom. She would sit on the toilet with her pants/underwear off and have me pee into the toilet bowl between her legs. She would ask me to hit her hairy spot every once in a while. I'm male and was about 8 years old at the time. I remember thinking that it was pretty awesome. Reply 1. Did you ever say anything to your parents? Reply 2. Not at first, but after a few months, I remember being upset about something and spilled the beans. This was 28 years ago, and I can't remember what happened to the babysitter. I'll have to ask my parents if they ever pressed charges. I remember them meeting with her parents one night. Reply 3. Jesus, I wonder what happened to her afterwards. Reply 4. I can't remember if her parents shipped her away or the whole family moved. She ended up getting pregnant in high school. I do remember hearing that story. I always felt like it was my fault because I was a willing participant. I have no doubt that if I hadn't said anything and she was allowed to continue watching me, she would have no doubt in my mind taken my V card. There is no way you could have known. She must have had some serious problems. It's scary to think about what could have happened if you kept quiet. Story 3. My neighbor made me wear a leash. Her kid was out of control, and we had to go to the grocery store. She pulled a leash out of her purse and hooked a Velcro wristband around his arm. Before I had a chance to make fun of him, she pulled out another one and hooked it to me. I walked around patiently, hoping to be released on good behavior, but no luck. Also, the rule in her car was hands under the seatbelt, which was terribly uncomfortable and dangerous too. Story 4. These two sisters that used to watch me and my siblings would put Tabasco sauce on our lips and tongues when we were bad. They would also force us to take naps by putting us in our bedrooms, locking the door, and turning off the lights. I was 5, and my parents never made us take naps at that age. For some reason, I only ever complained about the nap thing, not the Tabasco thing. Geez, those sisters had no right to do something like that to innocent children. It's disturbing to think that they would resort to using Tabasco sauce as a form of punishment, especially on their lips and tongues. And to add insult to injury, they would lock them in their rooms and turn off the lights to force them to take naps? That's just plain wrong. Story 5. She was in my high school and I was in elementary school. She would watch me and my younger sister most days after school before my parents would come home. She was all right to us. I remember she was very lazy. She would sleep on the couch for hours while we would play around the house or neighborhood. What made her terrible is she started stealing from us. She found my dad's checkbook and forged some checks. My dad is in finance and always balances the checkbook, and it was obvious that money was missing. He got in touch with the bank and found out that it was her. Also, my parents would hold on to my and my sister's cash that wasn't in the bank, like maybe $120 total, and that mysteriously went missing, but they couldn't prove that she took it. My parents didn't call the police because they didn't want to ruin her life, and also her parents were very nice. They paid back the money she took, and I never spoke to her again. I actually looked her up on Facebook, and she has 3 daughters now. I wonder if she ever thinks about how much she betrayed our trust. Story 6. Antisocial girl babysit me when I was little. She looked depressed, but I didn't give any mind, as 8-year-old me didn't see. She would watch anime while I sleep in her room because she wouldn't want to go out of it. On night, it was very cold, even with my triple-layered blacker, and she only had one. I complained it was cold. She set up the TV to bed and let me lay on her. At the time, I didn't realize she was. It became our nightly ritual from that time. I would even watch anime with her, and I even started calling her One-san. When I saw her again when I was 18, she had to explain it wasn't or anything. She was undergoing depression and didn't know how to deal with it. But when she started babysitting me, she started being happy to see me. She had a moment of awe every time I called her Oni-san, told me I just started calling her that out of the blue. When I'm there is the only time she can deal with life. I told her my side. I did felt like she was sad at the time and never felt uncomfortable around her. I still keep in touch with her every so often about new anime releases. Oh yeah, I still call her One-san because I like to think of her as big sister since she was always happy to see me and only me at the time. I don't know what to think about this. It's cute and disturbing at the same time. But she still was much older, and it's really not normal to do that with a kid. She should have talked with someone older or a professional who would have helped her get through her depression. Story 7. My friend and I were staying at my house for a night while our parents all went to dinner or something together. We had a babysitter watching us who was the older sister of one of the kids in our grade. We were being horrible kids, boys, and annoying the crap out of her by refusing to do anything she said. She made us go into our downstairs bathroom, which was probably 3.5 feet of walking space wide from counter to opposite wall and maybe 9 or 10 feet deep. Then she pulled the door closed behind her, so we couldn't fight around her and run off laughing. Happened once already. The problem was the doorknob was broken and pulled away from the other side's knob when she pulled it closed, just after it clicked. So we were stuck in there until our parents came home to let us out. She was embarrassed and at the end of her rope, just unable to believe how frustrating the whole night was. Of course, we bugged her the whole time, saying, "I can't believe you locked us in here, Bonnie! Oh my God!" So she tried to give us a stern talking to and then leave us in timeout in the bathroom, but ended up locking herself in the bathroom with us. Story 8. I had a babysitter when I was younger who'd make me drink expired milk. She wouldn't let me move until I did so. Needless to say, I don't drink milk anymore. Story 9. One of my babysitters hated me and made me take naps in her son's room that reeked of sweat. And when I would nap, she would make me sleep with my shoes on and my feet hanging off of the bed. She then forced me to eat foods I hated and would get mad at me when I would run to the bathroom and be sick. She also bought me a necklace charm that said brat, which may seem like a slightly nice gesture, except I was around 6 years old and was taught that it was a bad word. Story 10. I had a babysitter who pretended he was dead. He just was laying sprawled on the floor. 8-year-old me and my 6-year-old brother were both in hysterics before he got up and yelled, "Gotcha!" Then my brother and I cried until our parents got home 3 hours later and fired him afterwards. Well, looks like he really got hit by karma there, I guess. Story 11. My mom never left me with a babysitter. She always just left me home alone when I was about the ages of 8 and up. Back then, I thought it was cool, and I was proud of myself for being able to stay home alone. However, looking back, that was pretty irresponsible. I don't even remember her giving me any emergency numbers or anything. Story 12. I was like 6 years old, and our family had gotten a Nintendo Entertainment System. I basically only played a couple of games. Nothing very intense or anything. Things like Super Mario, Duck Hunt, Mickey Mousecapades, Yoshi Cookie, etc. Kiddie games. We had tons of games though, because my cousins gave them to us used. My babysitter was this really responsible, neat Asian college student. He saw the game collection and immediately got excited about seeing Final Fantasy in there, and asked me if I minded if he played it while he babysat me. I told him to go ahead, and I was kind of blown away. For whatever reason, I don't know, maybe just seeing an adult get really excited about a video game. But it was a major turning point in my life. Became a pretty serious RPG sci-fi nerd over time. Oh, this is such a heartwarming story. It's amazing how something as simple as a babysitter playing a video game can have such a significant impact on a child's life. It's great to hear that this babysitter was responsible and engaged with the child he was looking after, unlike other babysitters from previous stories. Story 13. My mom likes to tell this story a lot, and it isn't a weird thing my babysitter did, but apparently she fell asleep while watching TV. My parents called and I answered the phone, telling them to be quiet because the babysitter was sleeping. Needless to say, my mom was pissed. Story 14. Genuine story. 30-ish years ago, my father was in British Merchant Navy, and my mother would sometimes come along, working the bar, kitchen, whatever. At the time, I was just a baby, and they had the chance for some shore leave together, but needed a sitter. The first mate volunteered to take the duty, and he was a Scottish lad with a strong desire for a drink just about every night. Playing to stereotypes, but it's true. But he took his sitting duties seriously and didn't touch a drop whilst looking after little me. Upon my parents' return, they found him looking after me safe and sound, being bottle-fed just a small touch of whiskey to help me get to sleep. I don't think my parents were even angry, just amused. Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.